The Fortress, a short story. Stick. Boy loyal as a dog, father's best friend. Dog boy licking chops that daddy brings home a good treat. Sometimes daddy being home was the treat, daddy being gone so long and so often. Boy, loyal as a dog, he stands at the top of the driveway, watching, waiting. Boy, loyal as a dog, he sits by the front door, listening to crickets in the summer evening, waiting until he finds only sleep. More than a treat. If daddy loved you enough, he gave you a rolled-up newspaper for the dog and the boy, or a stick with "I love you" scratched against the grain for the boy and the dog. It was good, because it meant daddy was home at last. Mailbox. The end of the driveway was curved, so Dizzy couldn't see the highway. A good set of ears could hear the cars and trucks roll down the road, tires humming along as if they were passing through from a different world. Sometimes he clamped his eyes shut and imagined what sort of world these monster machines came from, populated by giants in gold and blue. But only the mailbox knew for sure. Eyewitness to the traffic, standing guard, making sure that every world stayed out. Sometimes the mailbox didn't do its job so well, Mother swearing at whatever the mailbox coughed up. Dizzy never thought about the things Mother swore at. She swore at the old cars Daddy left for her to drive. She swore at the dog across the highway, always barking between sunrise and noon, every day, as if the mongrel was punching a time clock. Mama swore at Daddy when he wasn't home, and that put Mama on the back foot during a fight. Such fights were never worth the long-distance charges, as she argued with him over the phone, over small matters of money or domestic responsibilities. Being forced to fight over the telephone allowed for avoiding a fight altogether, because no one heard the phone ring or the phone was disconnected. Long-distance charges cost so much, anyway, that the tensions had to wait until Daddy was home. By that time, the anger exhausted itself or found another matter to be expressed through. No one who knew any better swore at Daddy when he was home. Of course, Dizzy didn't say a word about Mama swearing at Daddy behind his back when he was gone. Daddy seemed to know anyway, a deep-rooted connection between man and woman which offered no chance at secrets. One could never anticipate the fireworks between Mama and Daddy. If something sparked ire, Daddy coming home late or Mama not having done something right, the fight would last weeks. After the last Inferno fight, Daddy was gone for 2 weeks. He smelled different after he came back, from the usual odor of engine oil, sweat, and lava soap. The fights were over so many small things. "You're lucky, boy," Daddy once said one day, after a particularly heated argument just after he got home. That was all he said the whole evening, and he kept saying it. "You're a lucky little boy. You're a lucky boy." For sure, Dizzy was lucky because Daddy was home. Other than the mailbox, there was nothing to see down at the end of the driveway but some trash washed up from the last big rain, and the bent-over mailbox across the highway. Dizzy would climb a nearby scrub tree and just see that old mailbox across the street. It was green, bolted to a red steel pipe. Dizzy had no idea what kind of lies that mailbox was up to, being all bent over like a rickety old man. Maybe it was just as bad over there as it was here, because Dizzy could hear shouting from way across the road, sometimes as loud as the cars and trucks that rolled by. Heart. The driveway was hollowed out from years of rain. Carved grooves washed into crooks and bent fissures around rocks and roots that ventured under the road from nearby trees. A massive pine stood at the top of the drive, shading the house through low evenings. The pine was a haven for birds after they gorged on afternoon bugs, the low branches dragging their tips on the ground, creating a shelter near the base of the tree. This massive pine sent 3 roots under the driveway, exposed more as the ruts grew deeper. The wood twisted like broken plumbing, knobs and gnarled knots worn and polished from tires crawling over. Weeds and clumped grass heaved up along the center of the drive between the ruts, granting the drive the twisted character of an abandoned mountain goat trail. Dizzy, boy loyal as a dog, sat at the top of the drive, watching down as far as he could see, where the drive curved to meet the highway. He was told never to go any further than the big old pine. When he heard a car that sounded like Dad's, He leapt to his feet and watched. The sound then faded, and Dizzy sat back down. There was never disappointment in the boy, just the anticipation that maybe the next car would be him. There was a coffee can of die-cast toy cars under the pine tree. Where the tree roots broke ground in the middle of the drive, Dizzy carved out from the dirt crafty little roads and highways and passed the time mining his toy cars. He never got too carried away with his constructions. If Daddy turned into the drive, Dizzy would have to hurry and collect his toys. Some of his favorite little cars had been sacrificed in such a panic. A massive manzanita bush hung over the opposite side of the drive, over a short clay wall cut back into the hillside, forming a wide notch into the earth with a steep bank. The notch formed a level terrace of clay and gravel, with barrels and boxes stacked along where the terrace continued into the hillside. On the leading edge of this level ground was a workbench under a short plywood roof, some car parts and a vehicle abandoned in the midst of repair. Beyond that side of the drive, the hillside swept upward into a scatter of brush and trees and open clearings. The brush and trees along either side of the drive dropped leaves down into the ruts, making the surface slippery when it rained. The manzanita leaves were slick and pointed, tough as skin, with little teeth around the edges like little saws. The leaves had the color of clotted blood and scabs when soaked. The dark red skin of the branches gave the manzanita a peculiar aura. The smooth curves forming an arterial mass, a cardiovascular system grown up and out of the soil, stripped of flesh, exposing the Earth's pulmonary system apart from the exposed bones of Earth's skeleton, the surrounding trees themselves. One always expected to hear a heart pumping down within the compact center of such a growth. Working out the best way of producing these short stories and works of fiction in this medium, this right here is just the 3 first chapters of the short story. Each video will have about 2 to 3 chapters of the short story, keeping the videos themselves down under a certain manageable length of time. Each video will be titled Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4 until the conclusion. If you find these stories interesting or engaging, give it a shot and subscribe and keep up with each additional chapter. Thank you for watching.